Oh, making a video. Yeah, response video to Anaconda Bod. I've tried to avoid watching this video, but I watched it. So it's another one of these long exposés into the depths of the guilty mind and what controls our behavior and blah, blah, blah. So there's this basic conflict between, yes, our desire and our understanding. Yeah, it exists. So we, either have to create images in our head to combat the fantasy we might have of having what we desire. Ow. So we can desire to have something like $1 million. We can imagine our neighbor has $1 million in their house. We can imagine ourselves having the $1 million. But then we have to imagine how we're going to dispose of them, or what are we going to do. And then we see the images and we say, ooh, that's no good. Okay, I'm not going to do it. And you imagine things like fairness and earning and all kinds of other understandings of what makes something reasonable or unreasonable based on your value equations. All right, so now he's talking. I mean, this excessive rhetoric. He's made this battle between our desire and our guilt as this most titanic thing that goes on in our brain and blah blah blah. So dramatic, and it's really not. I mean, it's child's play in a way. Okay, I mean, as a male, okay, you probably have these common experiences, where yes, you get erections spontaneously. They're usually not spontaneous, but you know what I'm saying. You get them, and so you're at school, you have an inappropriate erection, and you have to pull your shirt out, and you have to hope you can think about something hideous enough to turn yourself off. So yeah, you do the sport thing, you do some other kind of thing, but you got to try to get rid of this thought process that's kind of got you just thinking about, skin and whatever, and you're sort of in trouble. You've got a train of thought that you have to disengage, and you learn how to do it. Not a big deal, not a titanic blah 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 blah, all this bullshit. No, you either succeed and sometimes you fail, and that's what long shirts were for, right? At least that's what they were for when I went to school. And yeah, that's it. And so you go through the rest of your life basically doing the same thing. So we could bring up like Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay, we could bring up some horrid, awful, psychotic killer, blah, 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 blah. And we can see what's the conflict. He had plenty of conflict. He admits it. He was always conflicted. He didn't like what he was doing, but he had to do it. And that's not exactly the truth. The reason why he did it is because the stronger perception in his head, the thing that wasn't in his head, was this capacity to recognize equality. He didn't recognize his victims as equals. He thought of them as inferiors, and he almost thought of them as something made for him to consume. He wanted to consume them. He wanted to own them entirely. That's why he ate them, a piece of them. It's because he wanted complete victory. And but he did feel bad afterwards. And so he was, as he went further and further into his psychosis, it got harder and harder. It got more and more unpleasant because he would have all these conflicting feelings. He would recognize that after the act, I'm going to feel like shit. I'm not going to be able to fantasize about it the same way I used to. His train was getting disengaged. His thirst and hunger. And that might be why he got sloppier and sloppier or whatever, but whatever. No point in going all into the fact that he had unique problems. So you could just take the average, let's say the average pedophile, the average person who has an inappropriate attraction to young children. No, let's make it more personal. I personally think, 17, 18-year-old girls are hot. I do. And I wouldn't make a good school teacher because I would be constantly conflicted. I would know, okay, they're too fucking young. Don't even think about it. Don't even blah, blah, blah. But the fact is, it would always be harping at me. All right, and especially if they're all enamored with, oh, your brain is so big. Oh, I want to stroke your brain. And, they're doing something to be at all enamored by me. And then I would be required to be responsible and say, there, I'm an old shithead, and there's really no point investing yourself in me because I'm not going anywhere. I'm a loser already, right? I'm a school teacher. You know, them that can do and those that can't teach. So, yeah, don't waste yourself on this. And so, yeah, I'll do the responsible thing 99.99% of the time, but someday maybe I'm just going to get a little drunk, and someday I'm just going to, I'm going to fuck up. And so I would know, nah, this is not my job. Okay, bad job for Gary. Because I think of sex as a vacation. I think of it as a fantasy item. I don't think of it as something you do in real life, okay, because it just doesn't fit with real life. Sex is vacation, it's romance, it's a different world altogether. It's a different universe. And so, yeah, that to me is a better analogy, more realistic. Because when you lust after somebody on the beach, when you see a piece of ass walking by and go, ooh, that's a piece of ass, you have knowledge of the fact that you don't want to rape them. You don't want to force yourself on them. You don't want them to scream and say, get off me, or to throw up in your face. No, you're thinking of doing it right and, having a good time and having her think you're the best ever. You don't want it dirty and ugly and rotten. Maybe you do, but I'm just saying I don't. Alright, so I don't have any interest in violently taking a woman. It doesn't appeal to me at all. It's not part of any of my fantasies. So, yeah, it doesn't mean anything to me. So let's say if it is part of yours, and so that's part of your thinking mechanism, that you say, well, maybe I can take. You're going to go through the process of figuring out what's the end result of this, what's the calculation. And so if you want to get rid of it, you want to get rid of the desire, you want to tone it down, you just think of consequences. Yeah, it's not that complicated. You think of what the ugly that's tied to it. And there's always an ugly tied to everything. Everything can be seen in a context that takes away the vacation nature. That you show you the bill. It's not that complicated, right? I go to the store and I can just buy shit and it's all fun until I look at the bill, right? With my name on it, I owe. And then I say, oh fuck, that's no good. So, all I have to do is go to the store and have in my head the picture of the bill in the mail, with the 49% interest tied on, and say, oh, fuck that. Ooh, yuck. So it doesn't need guilt. You don't need all this emotional crap. All you need is a rational brain. And the difference between a criminal and a non-criminal is the one can do rational processing of the circumstance. They can see the fact that the end result will be shit. They can understand that the bill will be in the mail. And they can say, I don't want any. Me no heavy that. Me no be hurty person. I know be hurting other people. Not too complicated. I don't want to hurt other people. Gee, I have a principle. I have an idea. I have an ideal. And that is a desire too. The desire not to be a fucking useless sack of evil shit. Yes, I have a desire not to be an evil, useless sack of shit. And that desire is stronger than my desire to take from somebody who doesn't want to give. Or to take, in a thieving kind of manner, in any kind of inappropriate way. So yeah, this is not complicated, and this is not about imposing guilt or imposing emotions or imposing this or imposing that. It's about imposing understanding. So anyway, the end of his video, he basically claims that there is no possibility of somebody acquiring understanding that enables them to control their boner. They can never learn how to think of sports. That's what he's basically, you have to put them in jail. There's no other choice. If they get a boner, put them in jail. There's no other option because they will never learn how to think of sports or whatever, cars, or, I mean, you know, a lot of things did it for me, but yeah, you just think of cockroaches and that'll do it. You know, cockroaches eating your balls. Well, that might turn some people on. So never mind. But anyway, yeah, so yeah, his conclusion is that there are people who will never be able to acquire understanding. And I think that's absolute nonsense. I think all people can acquire understanding. Some people, okay, because of their psychology being perverse, you know, their ego thing being distorted, perhaps can't understand because they can't see themselves in any other context except as, you know, king of the world. They can't perceive other people as anything other than bugs somehow. I mean, there's some switch just doesn't switch in their brain. So yeah, they'll never understand because they can't accept the premise, you know, the premise that they're not the most magnificent thing ever created on planet Earth. And I'm telling you, most serial killers have that perception. They actually believe they are the universe. They think they're not only the center of the universe, that they are the only consciousness with any integrity, any richness, any depth of feeling, any, you know, and that's the key ingredient to their capacity to commit their acts, is they are incapable of ever recognizing any kind of value equation that doesn't have in it them. There is no other. The others are things. They are not people. And that's the difference between somebody. Okay, hanging in there. Same old walk.
That's good. See you later.
So, back girls on horses. Anyway, well, anyway, horse puts up with them. Horses are pretty unjudgmental. Yeah. Anyway, where was I? All right. Anything other than them? The bugs. They're just things. Yeah. So they're impervious to the understanding. And so the difference between somebody who has inappropriate desires, I think, you know, hot girls are hot. Yeah. Rob Lowe, whatever. They go way too low, you know. The difference between somebody who acts totally inappropriately and those who don't is an understanding that it's wrong. It's not that complicated. They understand that it's wrong, and they say, "Ooh, I gotta tone that one down. I gotta boost up my desire to be a good human, and I gotta boost down my desire to, you know, fuck pussy or whatever the thing is." And so you do it. It's not that you understand the task here. I can't be both things. I can't be a good person, which I want to be, and a satisfied sex machine, which I want to be. Well, those two things are incompatible with your desire mechanism, so you have to change something, and so change it. And that's what the rational person does. The irrational, ego-boosted crazy fuck can't do the math because they're not going to figure out that they're hurting something, that they're stealing something, they're taking something. They think they're entitled because they're so fucking cool that it's almost an honor for me to torture you. They actually think that way. They think you're being honored by them having enough affection for you to be bothered to kill you. Yeah, I mean, but that's how they think. And it's broken and stupid. So why are we talking about aberrant psychology? And that's what Antikantavad is doing. He's talking about aberrant psychology. Regular humans know full well how to put their desires in perspective, to balance them on the scale, and figure out that, yeah, I can't just have what I want. by stealing it from somebody else, because if it was my mother, I wouldn't want somebody to steal from my mother. Gee, that took so much intelligence. Man, you have to have such a big brain to do that. Holy smoke. No, you don't. Really easy to do. And the only thing that prevents people from doing it now is they are raised by monkeys. Yeah. The average kid is born to an imbecile, and the imbecile can't do the most basic ethical instruction. They just can't pull it off, which is really quite amazing. But it's right there to be had. The knowledge is not elusive. the way to do it is not complicated. So anyway, just get off this guilt thing already. I mean, like I said, I'm totally not relating to it. So maybe everybody else is in some way, but I'm totally not relating to it. Guilt is the least of my worries. Really isn't. Just isn't. I just don't see how this comes into anything. Like I said, the only time you feel guilt is when you make a mistake, when you fail, and then you fix it. What's complicated about that? You fail, and then you fix. Not complicated. So anyway, till the next video presentation, I guess. Reasonably decent day. Had to fix my micro leak. Yeah. Fuck. That worked out okay, I hope. Better have. And such. Anyway, till next time.